Okay, you were tasked with finishing up the to be labeled method in the crossword class. That's going to return true if it's a white square that should be labeled with a number and false otherwise. And then you have to write the crossword constructor. Make sure you read through this carefully, but there's several things you have to do in that constructor. First of which is you have to initialize a two-dimensional array of square objects. Okay, you are given in that constructor, you're given the 2D array of booleans, and you have to use that to initialize with the correct size this 2D array of square objects. Okay, what is a square? It is just a value that consists of whether or not it's black and its number. Its number is 0 if it's black, or if it's a white square that isn't going to be labeled. If it's a white square that's going to be labeled, its number will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever. Okay. Notice I have, while we're here, I have getters written for these as well. You should not have to change the square class at all, right? Just use it as is. Use the getter functions when you're ready to do the visual part. Okay, so back to the constructor. You got to initialize this puzzle array. If you're getting null pointer exceptions, probably because you haven't initialized this array to the correct size. Once you've initialized the array, then you have to use for loops to fill it with squares. Okay, when you make a square, you have to tell whether it's black or not, and you have to give it its numerical value. And again, black squares are 0, white squares that aren't labeled are 0. How are you going to know what its number value is? You're going to call your to be labeled function. Notice that this is a private function because the only place it's going to be called is here in the constructor. Think about that. So you call a function, you pass it along the black squares. It tells you yes or no whether that square should be labeled, and then you construct the square. You tell it whether it's a black or white square, and you tell it its numerical value. Okay, so that's all part of the FRQ that you need to write. So let's get, if you need to finish writing that, then pause here, because I'm going to go ahead and get into the puzzle drawer class, which assumes that your crossword constructor and to be labeled function are ready to go. All right, ready to be tested. Okay. Let's get to puzzle drawer. Puzzle drawer has a 2D array of squares called grid. It's going to be using this grid. When the puzzle drawer object is made, it gets that grid and it has it, okay? So you're just going to use this 2D array the whole time. The code that you're going to be writing is down here in draw puzzle. Basically, you're going to replace these for loops. So I'm going to make notes here on what you need to do. I'm going to make you write this part too and figure it out. But I'm going to walk you through what you need to do. Okay, so change the for loops so they go through a grid 2D array. Again, grid is already set. You don't have to worry about that. It's a 2D array of square objects. Okay. I have code here that draws squares that are a given color. I think red is the default value, but you can change that in the GUI. So this color needs to be determined by whether it is a white square or a black square. So determine whether current square is white or black. So if it's a black square, you'll need to set the color to black. And if it's a white square, you'll need to set it to either white or my color. If you want it, the white squares to be a different color, you can use my color. But You can use white if you want. So when you're setting colors, it looks like this: color.black, color.white. Those are built-in values in the color class. So the rectangle gets drawn. You don't need to change this. This is an outline free square. You do not need to change that. And then this down here draws the numerical value. You need to write another if statement here because most of the squares won't get numbers. So determine whether a square has a non-zero number. Remember, the square objects have a get num value. It's not like you need to call to be labeled here again. Don't do that. Just ask the square what its number is. And if it's a non-zero number, then you're going to draw it. So you'll be replacing this value right here with the number to be drawn. All right. And then of course, if it's not a labeled square, if its number is 0, then just don't do this part. Okay, you can skip that. You can put this in an if else that only draws squares with a non-zero number. All right, that's it. So just a couple if statements really, whether or not it's black or white, and whether or not it has a number or not. So get that written, test it out, and then I'll have you turn it in on Canvas. Go find the crossword assignment on Canvas. It'll have a spot to submit your link at this point.